Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a really long time and here is a new video for you guys. So, what happened recently is PCS Electronics sent me this package and they sent me a new transmitter. Now they also sent me this really nice t-shirt. As you can see, it says, I'm not going to take it out because I want it to stay clean, and it's pretty dusty out here, so I'm going to leave it in the container, but it says PCS Electronics, and then it says pillaging airwaves for you, right? And then there's, obviously, right? So yeah, I really love it. It's great. So thanks, guys. So there's that. Okay, let me put that aside. Alright, so here is the transmitter. Okay, so it is a PCS electronics transmitter. It's a 15 watt transmitter. Okay, you could see it more as an exciter. Okay, because 15 watts is something that usually would be used as an exciter for an amplifier, although you could just use it on its own as a low power transmitter. Now, what makes this transmitter interesting and kind of special is that it uses the Quintec chip, or Quintic chip. I always want to say Quintec, but it's Quintic. It's the Quintic chip, it's the QN8007. Okay, so the best FM transmitter chip is inside of this transmitter. So see, up until this point, PCS was not offering a transmitter that had the best chip in it. However, PCS has transmitters that have even better spectral purity when it comes to performance and as well as audio quality. They have their Q-Sonic PLL VCO transmitters, which are under the Max Pro series of transmitters. So if you're looking for like ultimate performance, you could go with their Max Pro transmitters. Also, they just recently released a DDS line of transmitters. So that's direct digital synthesis, which is really incredible. And so their DDS transmitters are probably some of the best in the world in terms of sound quality and performance and all of that. So if you're looking for really good performance, you're probably going to want to get one of their DDS transmitters. And I will be reviewing one of their DDS transmitters in an upcoming video. Probably not the next video, but the video after the next one. So I'll probably be producing 2 more videos after this. Okay, I have that planned. I don't have anything after that planned though. But you will be seeing PCS Electronics' new DDS transmitter in the video after the next, and it's a really great transmitter with really good spectral purity and everything, and so I'm really looking forward to doing a review on it. But for now, this is the Quintec QN8007, which is the best single chip FM transmitter. Okay, so this is the absolute best performance that you can get for a very reasonable price. Okay, and so the idea with this transmitter is that even though the spectral purity out of it might not be quite as clean as a real PLL VCO or a DDS transmitter, it's still going to give you a pretty good performance and for a really good price, right? And so that's why I'm reviewing this transmitter here. So let's get it taken out of the package and we'll take a closer look at it. So here we are. It says STMAX series, although this is the STMAX series. Okay, I believe. The STMAX series is the traditional PLL VCO based transmitter. And then they have their DDS transmitter as well as this. So they have 3 primary transmitters in the works at the moment, or being sold at the moment. If you're looking for budget, you want to go with this transmitter. Okay, if you're looking for the absolute best performance when it comes to audio, especially, then you want to go with the DDS transmitter. Okay. If you're looking for not only pretty good audio performance, not the absolute best audio performance, but pretty good, like really good, like even better than this, but not quite as good as the DDS, then you go with the Max Pro, because the Max Pro has a real PLL VCO. Okay, so anyway, this is the front of the transmitter, and I cannot wait. I've got to do this. This is one of my favorite things to do. You know, it's so satisfying, right? Yes. And there we go. Beautifully clean screen, as you can see. And what's so great about these transmitters is you see that, you know, it'll tell you the power and the SWR right on the front here. You know, you've got left and right audio levels, right? So what'll happen is, you know, you want to go up to right about there, the second to the highest. You know, if you want to be like blinking occasionally to the highest one, right? But not always fully saturated, right? So you want to be saturated up to about here, right? And then these should blink on and off every now and again. Okay, and that will mean that you're modulating with 75 kilohertz, which is exactly what you want to modulate on FM broadcast band. If you overmodulate going over 75 kilohertz, then you're going to have distortion and you're going to run into adjacent signals, and not good, right? So you've got to keep your modulation to 75 kilohertz. And this will help you do that, which is really nice, because then you know, you don't have to necessarily have a Pura CZ. Okay, the Pura CZ is what I recommend as a modulation monitor. Okay, it's pira.cz. That's actually their website, and you can purchase it on there. And it will monitor the modulation of a FM broadcast transmitter. Okay, but here you should be able to just rely on this, which is really nice, right? Then you got a USB port right here. And I believe that, yeah, this is for telemetry. This is not for audio. Okay, so don't get confused and think this is for USB audio. This is for telemetry, okay? And this is for Ethernet remote control. In other words, Ethernet telemetry, okay? Then you have your knob right here, you know, to control whatever you have on the screen, okay? Let's take a look at the back of the transmitter. So here's the back of the transmitter. Right here, we have our power port. Okay, it's one of those standard barrel type connectors right there. Here we have a nice fan, probably a Sun-On or something like that. Then we have our BNC antenna connector right here, or where you would hook up your higher power amplifier. Then you have left and right audio with the RCA style connectors. I always love when transmitters provide, you know, this kind of flexibility, right? It's really nice to have. You know, it's like, you know, many professional transmitters, right? They'll just give you XLR, right? But they won't give you the, you know, these kind of RCAs. They will only give you the XLR, right? And then if you get lower end transmitters, right, they just give you these then, but they don't give you these, right? See, this is what I absolutely love about PCS, or one of the things that I love. There's a lot of things I love about PCS. You know, PCS is my favorite transmitter company, okay? So like, you know, if I'm going to recommend a transmitter company to any of you guys, I always recommend PCS first, okay? See, you know, I do a lot of reviews on Chinese FM transmitters. Now, don't let that make you think that I think the Chinese transmitters are the best transmitters. No, I don't. See, I just do reviews on Chinese transmitters primarily because they're the ones that are they're the most interesting to me, right? I never know what I'm going to get. I never know if it's going to be good or bad, or it's always interesting to see how it works, right? And so that's why I buy the Chinese stuff sometimes. But, you know, if I'm looking for just pure performance and reliability and I want something that's really good and, you know, I'm not necessarily looking for, like, the best bang for your buck. I mean, look, these transmitters are still very reasonably priced, okay? It's just, you know, if I'm looking for, you know, real reliability with a little bit of a higher price point, but not prohibitive at all, you know, I'm going to go with PCS, right? So PCS is my top contender, right? They're the ones that I recommend the most. Anyway, so moving forward, we got our XLR connectors left and right, just as we do with this, okay? We also have USB audio, meaning if you plug a USB cable in there, you're going to have 100% lossless audio. Now, see, this is an issue that you'll find if you haven't done FM broadcasting yet, or if you've not done it very much, you will find that occasionally you will get buzzing or humming or something in the audio, right? And sometimes it can be very difficult to diagnose. It can be a real headache, right? Well, if you use USB audio, you're not going to have that problem because the USB audio is 100% digital, right? And so that being the case, you're not going to run into any problems with buzzing or humming or anything like that. So if you have an opportunity to use USB audio, definitely use it, right? But I think, in certain instances, you won't be able to use it. Like if you have a mixer board or whatever, then the mixer is going to need to plug into these connectors. However, if what you're doing is you take the output of your mixer, put that into your computer, into your PC, then in the PC you could run something like, say, for example, Stereo Tool. Okay, run Stereo Tool, or run anything, right? And then take the output of the computer and put it in here via USB. You could do that. I believe that this USB is MPX capable, although I'm not sure. You'd have to check their website. I don't know if you can do MPX over the USB. I don't know. But either way, it's still good. Okay, so you've got your MPX level setting. It's a tiny little pot in there that you adjust with a eyeglass screwdriver. Then you have your MPX in. So this is where you could connect a true MPX signal coming into the transmitter via analog. Okay, then you have MPX out. So that just gives you I don't know why you would need that, but maybe for diagnosing things or whatever. And your 19 kilohertz out, that would also be for diagnosis. And then I believe this is more telemetry, telemetry stuff, RS-232, and then Ethernet again, and MP3 USB, so you could plug in a USB stick for playing MP3s off of the USB stick, just like the cheap Chinese transmitters all tend to have, right? So you have that option with PCS as well, which is great. I would like to make clear, however, that in this case, see, this is the QN8007 based transmitter, okay? Which means that I think some of these ports are not being utilized. And I believe these ones are the ones that are not, okay? Because, see, in their standard Max Pro line with a PLL VCO, I believe these would be active, okay? But in the QN8007, given that it's a single chip transmitter design, I'm not sure if these will actually work. I don't think they do. I think this is just kind of like a dummy for their higher line of transmitters, the Max Pros. Okay, but anyways, point is it has a lot of flexibility and a lot of accessibility. Okay, I forgot to mention it came with this power supply right here, which is nice. It's a little brick power supply, and it is a Meanwell, looks like. Yep, it is a Meanwell, which is really good, and it's a 15 volter with 40 watts. Yeah, 2.67 amps it looks like. So this should be sufficient, given that this is only a 15 watt transmitter. So we're going to hook it up with this, and we'll see how it goes. This is where you put your plug on, and so I've got an American style cord, which they sent, and then you got the standard barrel connector. Alright, so let's get going. Alright, everything is hooked up. I got my bird meter hooked up with the 50 watt slug. Not 15, but 50. Okay, remember this is a 15 watt transmitter though. Okay, so right there in between the 10 and the 20 is what we should be looking for, because we should be getting 15 watts. Okay, transmitter is still off. Okay, the power switch is off. I've got the power brick plugged in there. As you can see, the blue light there. I got my adapter to convert the BNC to a N connector, because that's what I use there. And then we got our spectrum analyzer, and nothing as of yet. So I think it's pretty much time to power this guy on and see what it does. Got a green light. Oh, beep. Oh, we got full power, 15. It's already set up to full. Yeah, we've got no SWR, so it was set to full as soon as I turned it on. You know, it's like that does kind of scare me a little bit. You know, but, you know, a comment that I would make there is that, you know, I really do appreciate it when transmitters ship with the power turned off. You know, it's like, I know the power was turned off here, you know, via the power switch, but I really believe that the transmitter should start up in standby mode. I think that's very important. And that was actually an argument that I got into with the guy from GD Broadcast, China Broadcast, the company that made the GD2007 or whatever transmitters. It's like they all ship their transmitters, so as soon as you plug them in, they go on to full power. And it's like, I think that's, you know, that's problematic, because it's like for somebody that's not using a dummy load, you know, say just an amateur guy, he's got his antenna, you know, and he's hooking up his antenna and stuff. It's like he powers on his transmitter, it's like, oh, 15 watts at 87.5. It's like, oh, whoa, okay. What if your antenna is tuned to 108? You know, then you're all the way at the opposite end of the band, and you're going to get an SWR fault right, like, immediately as soon as you turn it on. So I think it would be great to have this set off first, so that the user can see, okay, I'm on 87.5, right? So, okay, is my antenna set for that or not? If not, okay, change the frequency. Now I can turn up the power, right? I think that's important. But anyways, moving forward, we've got 15 watts here. And we definitely have something. Yes, we do. And it looks very clean, although I'm zoomed out. I'm really zoomed out, so that could be a factor. Alright, so let's take a look at the bird meter. Alright. Oh, that is so close. Okay. Yeah, we are just like half a watt shy of 15 watts. Honestly, that could just be error, or it could be even lost in this little cable here. I mean, well, it's a pretty big cable, actually. It could be lost in this cable, could be lost in the connector, could be slight erroneous reading out of the bird meter. I'm thinking that it's probably putting out exactly 15 watts. Because I've noticed in the past that this bird meter is a little bit off. Oh, shit. Do you see that? It's drooping. It was drooping a little. That's odd, huh? It seems to be doing all right, though. Yeah, I think it's doing all right. It is pretty hot in here, but it was wiggling around. I saw it went down to 14. Now it's at 14.5. So it did move a little bit. Which is interesting. But, I mean, you know, that's close enough that I'm certainly satisfied with it. I mean, look, it's so close. It honestly, I think it's even 0.75. It's like 14.75, you know, very close to 15. So I would call that a success. And actually, right here, it says 14.9, not 15. Okay, well, now it says 15. But anyways. Okay, and we're at all the way at the end of the band, all right? So, we got a clean spectrum, everything looking great. So I think the first thing we want to do here is let's check out the power when we change the frequency, all right? So, let's see. Now, this is an important factor. Changing the settings on this is counterintuitive, okay? You push to go through all of the items, not turn. You push to go through all the items, then you turn when you're ready to adjust. Okay, so we're gonna click Okay, that's our power setting. I may as well give that a try. Let's give it a try first. We'll do this just because it's the first thing. Let's go down to around 10 watts and see if we can get about 10 watts. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's almost exactly. It's got the same, you know, half a watt less as before. So it's, yeah, this is very accurate. This is good. You know, I'm liking this. If we go down more, you know, now we're about 6 watts. Yeah, very close. Okay, so let's put it back up. And we are going to adjust the frequency. So let's go all the way up here. Oh, I like that. Okay. That's nice. Okay, so we hit. Alright, so now we're boom, boom. Exciter settings. I turn to change settings. There we go. There's our frequency. Alright, so okay, 87.665. Can we go all the way down and then, yeah, okay. So now we're at 107.9. Okay, enter. Alright, so it says we've got 14.9, 15 watts, roughly, at 107.9. Let's take a look here. Oh, wow. We're right on it. Right on 15. Exactly. That's nice. That is really good. That is really, really good. I like that. You know, I was expecting it to be a little bit of a droop, you know, because it's a higher frequency. But no, it's actually even a little bit better. Wow. Okay. So let's just do one more test. We'll do the middle of the band. Okay, right in the middle of the band. We're going to go down to the middle of the band. Say we'll go to 98 or 99 maybe. 98.1. That's a station. Alright, 98.1. And there goes our power. It's going up. And we're up to 15. And let's take a look. And just about the same as 87.5. Okay, so we're like half a watt less. Almost perfect. So, I'm really liking this. This is fantastic when it comes to power. It's like I never get this kind of, performance when I'm dealing with a Chinese FM transmitter. Not even close. Okay, so this is great. Not to mention, this transmitter offers RDS. It has a real-time clock, as you can see right there. You can see the thing says PCS electronics on it right there, which is great. So you can change your RDS text and all of that. So that's fantastic. And it has so many settings in there that it could take me forever to go through all the settings. But I suppose we could just take a look at a few of the most pertinent things. We've got exciter settings. We've got alarms and limits. DSP settings, RDS settings, RDS text, external control, system settings, network settings, date and time, scheduler settings, and that's it. Okay, so if we go in here, exciter settings. Let's take a look at this again. Okay, so now we're on frequency. Let's skip that. See, now we press and press and press again to go to the sub-items of this particular item. So we could change to mono here if we wanted to, I believe. Ah, okay. So we've got MPX mono right, stereo, mono left plus right, MPX mono left, MPX mono right, stereo, I see, okay. So, yeah, let's put it on mono left plus right now. Okay, we're going to do that, and we will use that to check out the carrier later to make sure that that works properly. Okay, so to make sure the stereo thing works. Exciter settings is turn. Now we press again. Okay, That's the stereo. Let's pass that. Now I've got exciter model. Now I've got power indicator max. Okay, so you can set your max limit power there. Pre-emphasis. Ah, I see. Europe and 50 and 75 for America. So it's got 50 and 75. Okay, so we want 75 because we're here in America, so I'm going to change that. Alright, so that's been changed. So now we got to see. We got to go back in by press, now turn. Now press. Okay, so see, that's how it works. It's a little bit counterintuitive with the control, but you'll get used to it after a while. Okay. You know, we got analog input, good. Okay, so that's it for that. So yeah, the control is a little bit counterintuitive. It's like if I would have designed it, I would have done the opposite, make the turn, do the cycling through stuff, and then press, change, right? But instead, they have press to go through all the things, and then turn. Okay, so, you know, but you'll get used to it, okay? It's got like an almost unlimited number of settings in there. And, you know, you could tweak stuff for hours. You know, it's scheduling stuff. It's just, it's incredible, right? It's like, I'm pretty impressed with it. So anyways, let's see, what do we want to do next? Let us look at the spectrum more closely. Okay, so we are operating on 98.1 at 14 or 14.8 watts or something like that. Okay, so let's look at this spectrum a little bit more here. Let us see. So we are going to, at first off, I really want to point out that there's like no harmonics visible pretty much. But firstly, let's do the amplitude here. I changed the reference level. We're going to turn that down so we can start to see a little bit more noise floor. Yeah, right. Okay, we're starting to see a little bit of noise there. And we can peak CF it right there. Yeah, that is looking pretty good. That is a span of 195. Okay. So, you know, as you can see, you know, our stop frequency right there is 195. Okay. Let me just expand this up and we'll see. Now that I adjusted for the sensitivity, and you can see there is absolutely nothing when it comes to harmonics, right? Nothing there. So that is fantastic, right? You can see we've got a little bit of a noise skirt here, but that is the typical noise skirt, as I call it, for the Quintec chip, right? That is a very normal looking noise skirt, okay? And even though, you know, it is a noise skirt, it is not prohibitively big. It's definitely within reason. Yeah, that's definitely a reasonable looking amount of noise down there. Okay. My back is starting to hurt, you know, because see, when I do this, I have to bend over the table a lot because this is a really long table. So understand that I'm in a lot of pain as I'm doing this for you guys. Okay, but I'm just going to push through it here. So anyway, it's like, let me try to get some more even numbers for us here is what I'm looking for, because I want to make this more clear for you guys, you know. Yeah, okay, so right about there, as you can see, this is a 10 dB per division scale, okay, at this point. And so the top right there is at 0, okay, and as you can see, the signal is going all the way right to about 0 exactly. Okay, it's going right to the top. So what that means is, if we look down here, the noise skirt begins at its absolute worst at about -40. Okay, but it's a little bit below that when you really look at it. So I think if we zoom in on it a little bit more, you will come to find that it probably isn't quite that bad. Let's see. Alright. And let's do, come on, PCS again. There we go. Yeah, so you can see now that it's definitely below 40. See, the noise skirt is below 40 there. So, see, the specifications of the QN8007 state that at the absolute worst point, you get negative 45 dBCs. Okay, negative 45 decibels below carrier. And that's what I'm seeing here roughly. Okay, that's at the absolute worst point. But for the most part, you're getting roughly about negative 50, or even better than that. Okay, depending on how far away from the carrier you move, right? So the point is what I'm seeing here is exactly the performance of the QN8007 chip, which means that this amplifier as well as this transmitter design is perfect. This transmitter design is not introducing any additional noise or issues into the chips or into the transmission line after the chip. Okay, see, one of the problems I had regarding one of the other Chinese FM transmitters that use the QN8007 best chip, right, the transmitter from the GD broadcast company, the China broadcast company, is that it wasn't putting out the best performance. It wasn't putting out the true performance of the QN8007. It was a bit noisier because the amplifier stages later on in line were not quite as clean. Okay, whereas in this case, it's pretty much perfect. So it looks like the thing was calibrating for a second there. But let us do a little bit more here. I'm just gonna zoom in more. Let's zoom in a bit more here because I want to take a really close look on the carrier now. Okay, I want to look real close here. Alright, so, and I want to, let's see, we're going to peak CF again, and this might be a bit much, I don't know. Well, okay, so let's do this, and let's do this, and let's make it down like that. Okay, so hopefully now we can see it pretty well. I don't know what those two things bumping on either side there are. What that's about. I'm not sure about that. That is interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, but let's take a look at what happens when we turn on the stereo. Okay, we want to see how that looks. So let's go here, and we're going to click. We're going to click, and we're going to do, we're going to turn, I believe. Come on. Okay, we're going to press. Okay, so now the mono left plus right? We're going to change that. Mono right, okay, same thing. Mono left, I'm seeing the same thing. Mono L plus R, same thing. Stereo. Yes, it definitely changed. So let's press. Yes, and as you can see, now it is much wider. I don't know if you noticed the change there, but it is wider. So if we span in even more, we should begin to see the pilot as well as the 38 kilohertz. Let's see if we see that. Yep. Okay, and yeah, that's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good because see, what we got going on here, okay, so we've got our pilots, okay, then we have our 38 kilohertz, okay, so we do have a little bit of unnecessary. I think this is unnecessary as well as this, but that's pretty much it. See, after that, it's clean. There's nothing else after that, which is very good, okay, it's not perfect, but it is very good. See, this is interesting, okay? This is one of the major issues of Chinese transmitters, okay? They don't filter their MPX at all. What you'll see on Chinese transmitters is that this goes all the way out like a porcupine, okay? It's like it sprays, like it just spreads out like crazy to the point where you're covering up adjacent radio stations, right? Really not good. Whereas in this case, you're not going to cover up adjacent stations. You know, this terminates right after these things that are moving around here. I don't know what these guys are. I don't know what these guys are up to. I don't know why they're there. But they're there. So, yeah. Anyway, let's see. By the way, I don't remember these guys being there in a normal Quintec transmitter. Like if you were to just analyze the Quintec chip directly, I don't think it would have this. So I think this could be some noise coming from the amplifier or something else inside of the transmitter board, potentially. But anyways, it doesn't seem to be too much of an issue, though, because it doesn't go on forever. So if let's do our span again here, and let's span back out, okay, because we zoomed in pretty good. I want to now zoom out, and I want to see just how nice the spectrum looks now that we're in stereo mode, you know, away from the carrier, you know, because that's what really matters. You know, we want to see how clean it is in the area of adjacent stations, okay? And as you can see right now, you know, it's like, this is a really clean signal. You know, see, it's like, I'm not even really seeing much of a noise skirt at all here, right? Like, this looks pretty great. You know, it's like, you've got the signal and very little noise skirt, right? It's like, yeah, this is clearly, you know, just the design of the Quintec itself, you know, which introduces a little bit of noise, you know, underneath the carrier, but it's not that bad, right? And see, in the real world, yeah, now we're starting to see that noise skirt again. Okay, so yeah, you can see it here and here. But see, in the real world, this kind of noise here, it's spread out over enough space, and it's also low enough in decibels that this is not actually going to cause any issues in the real world, okay? However, what I would say about this transmitter is that I would say if you're looking for a budget option transmitter from PCS, I would say buying one of these. They come up to, I believe, 75 watts. So they make their 15 watter, I believe maybe a 30 watter, a 50 watter, and then a 75 watter, okay? So what I think is you probably want to use one of these transmitters either on its own, okay, like up to 75 watts or whatever with their higher power model, or maybe you could use this with, say, maybe a 175 watt amplifier. Okay, you know, they make like the SD2941, something like that. I think using this with a 175 watt amplifier would be reasonable. I think once you're starting to look at 300 watts plus in terms of power, like maybe, yeah, above 300 watts in terms of power, that's when you probably want to buy the Max Pro transmitter line or the DDS transmitter line. Okay, so these transmitters, they're for low power stations like LPFM stations or for rural stations. You know, you don't want to be using more than about 300 watts with one of these things, right? It's like, would it be okay to use more than 300? Probably, okay, probably, but I'm just being very conservative, okay, and just, you know, trying to make sure that, you know, the absolute best scenario is going to happen, you know, so this kind of noise is not going to have really any effect at 15 watts at all, right? But when you start to go above 300 watts, then this noise might start to have a little bit of an effect, okay, but it's not going to be that bad. Right? And if you're in a really like rural environment where, you know, say you're on a farm and there's not like another building for like 2 miles or whatever, then you'd be perfectly fine probably using this thing up to, you know, 600 to 1,000 watts, you know, so just use your discretion when it comes to that, okay? Yeah, so it's like, so far, I really like this transmitter. I think it's great. I mean, it's like, it's still putting out almost exactly 15 watts. It's, you know, yeah, 14 and a half or 14.75. Yeah, it's like the thing is working really well. It's practically silent. There's, you know, there is a fan back here, but this fan, it's making no noise at all. You know, it's like I'm not really hearing anything. I mean, the thing is slightly warm to the touch, but it's doing well. Yeah, it's like I really like this thing. You know, it is a Quintec transmitter, right? It is a perfect quintessential example of the QN8007 transmitter chip. You know, with no extra added noise or anything from the amplifier stages, is just pure Quintec power, right? So, yeah, the audio coming out of this transmitter, I'm not going to test it in this video just because I don't have an XLR thing right now at the moment. But, you know, I have tested the QN8007 transmitter chip before, and I can tell you that it definitely sounds very good. Okay, the audio quality out of the QN8007 is almost like that of the source material. It's very close to that. It might not be absolutely perfect, but it is very close to that. Now, before I go, you might also keep in mind that there are DSP settings. If we change this, okay, see we have a treble setting, okay? We have a bass setting. We have a compression setting, expansion, threshold, attack, decay, more stuffage, you know, more, right? A low pass filter. Oh, that's nice. Okay. It's set to 15.5. That's pretty good. So that's nice to have. Yeah, so that low pass filter will make sure that you're not, you know, sending, you know, audio frequencies that are higher than what you should be. You know, in case you're using source material that isn't filtered, which that's very important. I'm glad it has that. So yeah, I mean, if I do another video on this, guys, I will test the audio. Okay, I will definitely test the audio, but you can take my word for it because it is a Quintec transmitter. It's gonna just sound like Quintec audio, meaning the audio should sound roughly like any of those other Quintec transmitters, right? So like the yellow board transmitter, right? This one right here. Like this transmitter right here. Okay, this transmitter uses the Quintec QN8066, okay? So it's not the QN8007, it's the 8066. However, the audio quality on both of those chips is like almost exactly the same. Okay, the spectral performance, however, is different. Okay, this one has not quite as good spectral performance as the 8007. Okay, but the audio is practically the same. So, you know, what this transmitter sounds like, or this transmitter, or one of those smaller ones. Yeah, so that's the audio quality that you're going to be getting out of this transmitter because it uses the Quintec line of chips. Even though it's not the exact same chip, you should be getting the same performance in terms of audio. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. I'm trying to think if I've, you know, I think there are some things I skipped over, but I think I covered, you know, most of the important things. This video has run on to 45 minutes long, so yeah, I think I better stop. So I'm gonna call it, but guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and you know, stay tuned. There's probably 1 or 2 more videos coming up, okay? Stay tuned. Yep, thanks again for watching, guys. And guys, please check out PCSelectronics.com. It's PCS, I believe, dash electronics.com. And check out their STMAX line. This is the STMAX, as well as their Max Pros and their DDS transmitters. All right, take care, guys. Bye.